Call in, guys. Talk to me nice.
Welcome back to Sports Tea. Welcome back to Sports Tea.
Talk to me nice. Nice. Call in, guys. Talk to me nice. Call in, guys. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sports Tea. How's everyone doing? I just want to say happy Wednesday. I know I missed 2 days and I'm getting caught up on the playoff games with you guys tonight. Super excited to do that. Do me a favor, guys, as everyone loads into the room, like the video, share it out on your social media networks, help grow the Sports Tea community, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm just coming back from work, so I wanted to stop in here, give you guys a live, and tomorrow morning I'll jump back on and do some more of the game coverage. So really excited to be here with all of you guys. Salute to Brother Juma. I see you. Maverick, the Enigma. How are you guys? Welcome on in. We're going to jump right in. So I don't have that much time, but I definitely just wanted to make sure that I gave you guys some content and we just keep the train moving. So we're going to start off with this Lakers Timberwolves game 2. I don't have the T-Wolves winning this series. I think that they are the better team. I think that they have better interior play. I think that they have more athletic players. I think that they are just the better team. It was interesting because Brian Windhorst, he said on ESPN that if we're talking about the top 10 players in this series, he thinks that the Timberwolves has 7 of them and that the Lakers have 3 of them. So I thought that that was really, I found that to be almost like an about face for Brian Windhorst, and I think that this is his way of retaliating against LeBron for his comments about calling him weird, because normally people will just cap for LeBron and say, oh, he's still the best player in the league and blah, blah, blah. And the Lakers are the better team. They can make it to the finals. So I think people are starting to get real about the Lakers, and I want to just jump right into the game analysis because there's a lot to unpack there. We can take a look at the team stats. Obviously, Luka Doncic, he was the leading scorer of the night, 31 points. He had a triple-double. Okay, pretty sure he had I'm pretty sure he caught a triple-double in this game. Actually, no, he didn't. He didn't catch a triple-double. I'm thinking of Nikola Jokic in Denver's game 2 loss against the Clippers. But Julius Randle played, for me, everyone's saying that he played well. Julius Randle plays so-so. But it's
unknown caller.
The left hand. So it's the left hand for me that Julius Randle has that I don't agree with. I don't think that an NBA player should only be able to dribble with one hand as many years as Julius Randle's been in the league. So I think that he needs to work on his game. I think he needs to work on his right hand and being able to shoot with both hands, being able to dribble with both hands. So he's very aggressive, and that's what I appreciate about Julius Randle, is that he brings the physicality, and that is what I don't like that the Knicks lost in trading for KarlAnthony Towns. KarlAnthony Towns is just not a physical player to me. Julius Randle brings physicality more consistently. He's just not that bright of a player as far as the IQ is concerned. So I think the Timberwolves will be knocked out in this round, and so will the Knicks, but we'll get to the Knicks in a few minutes. Let's just take a look at these team stats. I mean, Lakers, they didn't shoot that much better than the Timberwolves. They made 1 extra 3-point shot. They made 4 extra field goals. There was no free throw disparity. The Minnesota actually shot more, so they shot 5 more free throws than the Lakers did. Lakers made all 20 of their free throws, whereas Timberwolves just didn't. You got to make those free throws. They're not shooting well from the free throw line. 80% is not enough when you take a look at how many the Lakers made. Rebounding, they also got beat on the glass. Like, why are the Lakers beating you in rebounds? Why? You have a center. You have like real big men on your team. Like, there's no reason for this. Timberwolves played an awful game. One of the worst games that I've seen them play. When you take a look at assists, Timberwolves had barely any assists. It was just not a good game for them. Blocks, they only had 2. Turnovers, they had less than the Lakers, but they could not capitalize enough on the Lakers turnovers. They scored 15 points. They needed to score something like 20 some odd points off of those turnovers, but they didn't. But the Lakers, they were able to score they were able to score some points off of their turnovers, obviously, and at one point the Lakers had them by 22 points. So that's how large the lead got at one point, and of course, the Lakers begin to start collapsing like they always do. It come the fourth quarter. So, I would say even the collapse started in the third quarter. So when we take a look at even just like what happened and this box score, it goes to the half because I was like really digging into this game. At the half, Minnesota had 45, and when I saw what Julius Randle was able to do by the half, I was pretty impressed with him. He had 15 points. Anthony Edwards had 14. I'm like, they might be able to get back in this game. Their bench wasn't delivering enough. By the half, they only had 6 points total for the bench. And then Mike Conley had 0 points at the half. So I was concerned about that and looking, okay, well, perhaps Mike Conley can get activated in this, in the third and fourth quarter. Then when we take a look at the Lakers, okay, at the half, they were already at 60 points. Luka Doncic basically blew out the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first quarter. That's what he looks to do. He comes out very aggressive in the first quarter. He's got a lot of energy. He's hitting shots. He's knocking them down. He was pretty aggressive in shooting shots close to the basket and in mid-range. He shot a couple difficult shots he made. Minnesota's defense, it wasn't awful. They were defending. They were trying. They were getting physical. Okay. Even Jaden McDaniels, I'm pretty sure I saw him try to run over somebody. It was just kind of crazy how he did that. But, Minnesota is physical. They were playing defense on the Lakers. Luka was just able to score. He was scoring on Rudy Gobert, making him look pedestrian, making the hand in the face not matter. He kept bodying him. That's what they do. They attack Rudy Gobert. We're calling him Defensive Player of the Year, and I don't see it. He can defend. He's just, to me, not this all-world defender. I'll take Aaron Gordon over him as a defender any day and twice on Sunday. But, that's just me. And so at the half, Jackson Hayes already had 2 points. Right now, I'm looking at the others. Luka Doncic already had 22 points by the half. So when we take a look at what the other people were able to do, like Dorian Finney-Smith, 4 points by the half. Gabe Vincent had 6 by the half. So the teammates were stepping up. LeBron had 13 points by the half. He was 50% from the three-point line, 5 of 9 field goals. What I can tell you is that, it was interesting to me that LeBron James, like the way he was playing, he was on the floor. They were crediting him for playing really great defense. And I'm not going to say he had a terrible game. What I'm going to say is that I still don't see the defensive acumen from LeBron James. He was falling all over the floor. That's not playing defense. I guess if he falls on the floor, his coach isn't going to call him out on defense because it looks like he's trying. I saw him get blown by. I saw Ant-Man just do what he wanted in the paint at will. And LeBron was standing right there doing nothing. So when we take a look, this is the whole game. Minnesota didn't even break 100 points. So the Lakers need to get credit for their defense. They were playing defense. They did. And Minnesota couldn't hit shots. They struggled. They couldn't make threes. They went from making 21 3-point shots to making 5 3-point shots. That's not winnable. You shoot that many threes and you miss that many threes. That's just not a recipe for success. And Mike Conley, by the way, scored 0 points. I don't know how they were supposed to win their game when their starting point guard scores nothing and also doesn't even barely assist the ball. So Mike Conley didn't even play make. He had 1 assist the whole game. Ant-Man, he had 0 assists the whole game. So Minnesota played poorly. Dante DiVincenzo, he's not unlocking in this playoff series. With the Knicks, he can drop 39, 40 points at will. Minnesota, he's scoring 4 points. Naz Reid, 9 points. I mean, just 1 3-pointer from him. They couldn't make shots. So is Minnesota going to continue in this shooting slump? Are they going to continue to look horribly discombobulated out there on the floor? look at the Lakers and their box score at the end of the game. 94. They also didn't break 100 points, but, they held it together. Minnesota kept going on these little mini spurts of a run. And every time they would go on a run, they just got taken out of that run. The Lakers were able to stop them or they were able to score the ball. And that's what kept them in the game. But they had some really silly turnovers. LeBron James, I'm shocked he's only credited with 2 turnovers because he was constantly on the floor. He looked like, a child with terrible twos, like a possessed child on the floor, having tantrums at times, going up to the refs, complaining. Luka Doncic's, look, I get it that I forget his name. Was it McDaniels? It was somebody. He kind of like grabbed his leg as they fell on the floor, and Luka like wanted him ejected or something. I don't know what he wanted, but he should have been teed up for getting in the ref's face like that and talking to him that way. I just thought that, move on. We're in the playoffs. Move on. You're fine. You're not hurt. Just move on. But Luka can't do that. He always has to harass the referees at some point in the game. But, Luka was 100% from the free throw line. He played a great game, 9 of 20 from the field. He didn't shoot the best from behind the arc, just 2 threes out of 8 attempts. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but people will credit him with that because he's able to get hot. But I don't consider him to be a great shooter from behind the 3-point line. LeBron, of course, 20% from 3. But with all of this poor shooting from the Lakers, Minnesota just could not squeeze out this win. And I think it's pathetic. I think that there were so many different chances for them to take over this game, and they lost it. They completely lost momentum when LeBron stole the ball from Ant-Man, who was just, driving down the court aimlessly. So, they lost this game for themselves, in my opinion. You take a look at what Luka did. Just even in that first quarter, he pretty much scored more baskets than the entire T-Wolves team. So there goes the shot selection. I think this game, it was interesting. We'll play a little bit of sound from Stephen A. Smith and the First Take team, and we'll go from there.
Are you higher on LA, or are you just more down on Minnesota?
Well, listen, give LA its props. Give JJ Redick his props for having these brothers ready. His profanity-laced tirade in the fourth quarter, they deserved it because they were taking their foot off the gas. But I think this was about me being disappointed in Minnesota. I can't emphasize. Listen, when you watch Minnesota, 117 points in game 1. A season low, 85 in game 2, a season low. They got bipolar disorder, man. You don't know which Minnesota Timberwolves team is going to show up. They look discombobulated. They look disorganized. They look chaotic. You're dribbling too much. You're not spreading the floor properly. You're not making an extra pass. And don't get me started with this shooting. 5 of 25 from 3-point range after the way they shot lights out in game 1. This is the reason why people felt this was a matchup made for the Los Angeles Lakers coming into this series, because with Minnesota, you never know what you're going to get. They were trapping Anthony Edwards. They were getting the ball out of his hands. I understand it. But you're looking at Naz Reid. You don't need to be handling the ball too much. McDaniels, you don't need to be handling the ball too much. Julius Randle, listen, Mr. Lefty, he ain't ambidextrous, okay? We know this, all right? Even though he put up some decent numbers last day, had 27 points. I just found myself incredibly frustrated with Minnesota. The Lakers scored 60 points over the last 3 quarters. 60 points over the last 3 quarters of the game. And still, Minnesota never pulled closer than within 9 because you're all over the place offensively. You can't win this series like that. You don't have a chance to win this series like that. You're looking at them and you're just saying to yourself, Mike Conley Jr., you've been a veteran point guard in the league for years. Control them. Control the pace. You know what? You got to don't be driving them. I saw McDaniels literally run over Austin Reeves. And then look at the ref like, what did I do? You mean what you did? It's not football. Not trying to break tackles. Trying to get to the basket. You're just looking at them right now. And I was just turned off, Wendy and Doggy, about how chaotic they look. That is not a team that would beat the Lakers in this series.
100%. They were self-satisfied that they got the split with the first game on Saturday night where they made 1 million threes. Good job by JJ. I guess they had a hard practice the day before. They went through film on Easter Sunday. He did have him ready to play. He's done a good job, so give him credit for there. But I definitely agree with you 100% about Minnesota. I think, Steve, I look at more from a Minnesota standpoint and a Lakers standpoint, too. You figured the Lakers were going to win a game. They were favored. Even in Vegas, down by a game, they were still pretty much a pick 'em in the series, which was odd. And Minnesota does not have a great home court. I'll give you a million examples of teams in the last, whatever it might be, going into the Target Center winning games. Dallas did last year. Obviously, Denver did when they were down 2-0. They got back to 2-2. So from that perspective, I'm a little worried that Minnesota appeared to be, hey, you know what? We got a split. We won the first game. We'll go out there and play, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have a chance in the fourth quarter. And I think they didn't come with that urgency that you'd like to have. They were out of the game right away. The game was not competitive after the first quarter. That's one of those playoff games. You watch the first quarter, you've seen it all. But I'm with Steve 1,000%. Me, it's more about the T-Wolves than about the Lakers. It really is.
Brian?
I hated watching this game. It was 12:30 in the morning, and it was close enough that I had to keep watching it, but neither team was impressive down the stretch. I will give the Lakers credit. This was a must-win game for them. Luka came out and was awesome in the first quarter. As I'm watching the end of this game, where they're both bumbling and stumbling and running over each other and all that stuff, I'm thinking of what the Denver Nuggets LA Clippers series looks like. Those two heavyweights who look like they both could win the West under the right circumstances. I'm thinking about Oklahoma City, who has dismantled the Grizzlies so far, totally looking like the 68-win team that they were during the regular season. And I'm thinking, one of these two teams thinks that they can run through the West playing this way? No way. So I'll give them a pass that it was the first 2 games of the series, and it's going to be a long series. I just wasn't impressed either way. Luka has given Minnesota all kinds of problems over the last 2 years. If I was going to look into the future and say how the series is going to go, I don't see how Minnesota stops him. So I'd lean towards the Lakers. I think he probably carries them. But Ant Edwards hasn't been great these first 2 games. And what was alarming about last night's game is that he said he was confused by the defense the Lakers played on him. He said it was sort of a zone. I'm not an X's and O's expert. I think the way the Lakers were playing against him is similar to the way they play against great scorers, where they just try to crowd the paint and dare the guy to kick and shoot threes. Like, maybe there was a new wrinkle that JJ Redick came up with that I didn't see, and I'll grant for that. I don't think Ant Edwards showed the aggression he needed to show considering the stakes. And the big thing was he had no assists in this game. He hasn't had a no-assist game in 3 years. He had 9 assists in game 1. So this is really about Ant Edwards answering back with a great game or 2 when the series goes to Minneapolis.
Well, first of all, collectively speaking, as an offense, they were absolutely awful. Let's get that out the way. Okay, you got a situation where you're looking at Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels. They combined for 48 points on 19 for 25 shooting in game 1. That's 76%. Last night, they combined for 17 points. Think about that. That's a 31-point drop-off on 6 of 19 shooting, which was 31%. Okay, so you got that going on. Rudy Gobert, 29 minutes, just 6 points. I mean, what do you do? Mike Conley, you're the point guard.
Yeah.
You're the point guard. Scoreless in 21 minutes, 0 for 5 from the field, and 1 assist. Really? That's what we're doing? Mike Conley's better than that. I don't give a damn how old he is. He's a veteran. He's better than that. 1 assist, 0 points in a playoff game. Come on, Mike Conley Jr., you can do better than that, okay? And Ant-Man, what have I said? This brother can be Jordan-esque. He's got that kind of capability, that kind of talent. This brother's special. Yo, Ant-Man, you're not answering the call. I don't give a damn what the Lakers thought you. 23.5 points, 41% shooting, 35% for three-point range. We expect better. When you're going up against Luka Doncic and LeBron James, and you are the star of the other team, you got to do better than that. So, again, we understand it. I think for me personally, it's always been tricky because I have so much respect for the coach, Finch. I know he's a good coach. Please don't get me wrong, Wendy. I really, really do. But I got to look at coaching. When historically, you're a bit haphazard. You're a bit bipolar. What you are on one night, you may not be on the next night.
I want to go to the Lakers side. Mad Dog, do the Lakers need more from LeBron if they're going to advance?
Yeah, maybe not in this series, but if they're going to win a championship, he's got to be the LeBron of 10 years ago. Lakers not that good. I mean, Hayes, I get the idea with Luka. Hayes is, he kind of tries to fit in. Only 16 points last night. Sometimes he's not as big a factor as you'd like. LeBron, it's all about Luka in the first half last night, as was in game 1. They have nothing down low. They can't wait to get Hayes out of the game. They have nothing down low. This is not a championship team. Now, I'm with Wendy. I think they'll probably figure out a way to win this series, and we'll see how they handle it with Golden State, if in fact they play them. But I think the two best.
I actually agree with all the commentary surrounding it. I do think that, yes, let's give the Lakers credit, but they both didn't play a good game. They both shot poorly. They both turned the ball over, weird turnovers. The Lakers collapsed in the third and the fourth quarter. The Timberwolves could have won this game. So, the refs didn't give the Lakers all these free throws, but you have to watch the games closely for the calls that the Lakers got that they probably didn't deserve. So, I'm not going to say that the officiating was god awful in this game, but there is an agenda to get the Lakers to the finals. I doubt that it's going to happen because, as Mad Dog said, they're just not that good. So, I don't see the Lakers really running through the West. I just don't see how that's going to happen. Maybe they can get a game against OKC if they should face them, but I think the Warriors will knock them out. Jimmy Butler definitely wants his revenge for sure. And blame Chris Finch. I'm all about blaming him because I think this game also boiled down to coaching. When you've got the lead, when you are closing the gap on a 22-point lead and you get to under 10 points, and I think at one point they got it all the way as low as a 6-point deficit, and they gave the game away. They are the reason why they lost. Every single player point the finger inward at the Timberwolves because they lost this game. It wasn't the referees. I don't want to hear about the bad calls. The Timberwolves need to blow the Lakers out in order to win this series. They know that. And so if they're not doing it, then they deserve to lose the series. If they're taking stupid shots, if they're throwing the ball away, they didn't look good out on the floor. And I think that they were satisfied about winning, about stealing a home game from the Lakers, and they shouldn't be playing around. They should be looking to, widen that gap and close out the Lakers as soon as they can. I wonder what Shannon Sharp thinks about the game. I'm going to talk about Shannon Sharp probably tomorrow morning. I'll also address the games that took place today in the morning. So really looking forward to, connecting with you guys again even the locker room has turned on JJ Redick. I mean, he didn't make the adjustments that he said that he was going to make. So the locker room is going to turn on. I don't even know who the locker room is, but these Laker channels that are pro, JJ, pro LeBron, all of their decision making, they're going to wind up turning on everybody except LeBron James. So if this is a LeBron channel, then likely they're going to be turning on JJ Redick and anybody way before LeBron. LeBron can do no wrong and everybody else gets the blame. That's just how it is. I like Mad Dog too. He brings this energy that I just really love. He doesn't respect today's game, neither do I, and I'm with him on that. So I do want to go ahead and give you guys just like a little recap of the playoff games that I did watch that I thought were particularly interesting. So I saw all of them. If not, I didn't watch all of the Orlando series. I watched about a quarter of it. I saw Paolo Banchero turning the ball over. He looked kind of like LeBron James, just turning the ball over at will and, turning it over with abandon. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get swept off the floor. So just, moving along to the playoff recap that I want to do for you guys. Obviously, that Nikola Jokic was flopping in game 2 against the Clippers. And I do want to mention how sensational Kawhi Leonard was. He was just so great in this game. Watching him play is so amazing when he can play. And it's always so exciting when he can get out there and get on the court. I thought that he should retire, and I still do if he's unable to play, 50, 60 games a season. I don't need to see him for 30. I don't need to only watch him in the playoffs. We need qualified players who are available to play. That's my opinion. Availability should be what we're paying to see, not just stars that are only available for 30 games. So yeah, I'm not going to break down all the games. So I'm not going to break down Nuggets and Clippers, Bucks, and I'm not going to do all of that. I'm just going to give you guys a couple of my thoughts on each game. So, Clippers versus the Nuggets. I would love to see the Clippers eliminate the Nuggets, and not because I have anything against the Nuggets. I think they're actually a good team. I don't think that Nikola Jokic has no help. I think that Aaron Gordon's great. I love watching him play. I love watching him hustle, defend. He really protects Jokic on defense. He's constantly defending the best player. Shout out to Man Down Sports. Mel called that out, and it's just true. We see it every single game. We see his team protecting him on defense because he just can't move his feet well enough. Is he a presence? I mean, sure, but he gets blown by left and right. So I don't know what kind of presence that is. He is a one-way player, and that's offense. His defense, in my opinion, is atrocious. And I don't understand why we're paying big money for guys that can't defend and don't defend and refuse to defend. So, a Jokic hand in your face means nothing. You're going to shoot the ball and make it likely. But I guess my question about Jokic is, has he replaced LeBron as a flopping king? I mean, he is just flopping so much. It's unbelievable. I saw him flop about 4 times, and the flops were just so obvious. Fans were calling it out all over Twitter. People did not appreciate the flopping from Nikola Jokic. So even his own fans are calling him out and admitting that he's a flopper. And look, I get it. He learned from the best. He learned from LeBron James. So, who's the better flopper? Is it Jokic or is it LeBron? They still lost this game. I watched him flop at least 4 times. That's what I saw. And 2 of the times he was given those calls, and the last 2 times towards the end of the game, he was not. And he tried to flop during very, critical game moments. And I did not like that. Personally, I didn't appreciate it because it's just taking away from the integrity of the sport. That's what I don't like about flopping. So that's where I stand on that. I did also want to talk about the Knicks. I want to talk about the Knicks and, and the fact that now the series is split. It's 1-1. I also don't think that the Knicks are going to come out of this series. What did I predict in the beginning of this 2024-25 campaign for the NBA? I predicted that the Lakers would be a first-round knockout. I'm sorry, not the Lakers. I predicted that Minnesota and the Knicks were going to be a first-round knockout because of their trades. So I predicted that their trades would set them back because KarlAnthony Towns had great chemistry with the Timberwolves in that team, and I think it benefited them to have him there. He was a scoring big, whereas now their bigs don't score. Julius Randle does, but it's different. So Julius Randle, I don't think he's like a solid 3-point shooter all the time. I think that KarlAnthony Towns shot better from the perimeter, and I think that, you know, Julius Randle oftentimes collapses in the postseason. So I believe we're going to see them get knocked out in the first round. I believe that Cat also collapses in the playoffs, and we're going to see him, you know, pretty much torpedo the Knicks. And he's the player that I think that the Knicks are depending on to get them to, you know, that next round, and it's not going to happen. So he was the player that you traded to get you out of the second round hole, and you're not even going to make it to the second round. The Knicks are out in this round, and they're going to get eliminated by the Pistons. They're fast, they're athletic, they're playing physical basketball. I think that JT Bickerson is coaching better than Tibbs. I think that Tibbs is a crybaby, and he needs to stop doing that. I'm tired of him crying about the refs. Play your game. You know, you don't have the best substitution patterns. You are not coaching at the highest level, unfortunately. Do I think he's a horrible coach? No, but I question whether or not the Knicks need a different voice in the locker room at this point, because it's been several seasons and they are not going to get out of the second round. They're not going to make it to the second round this year. They're going to slide back, and I think they need to take a look at his coaching for sure. Jalen Brunson is injured. That's another reason why I don't think they're going to get out of the first round. I just don't think that he's playing with enough explosiveness. I think that Jalen Brunson he's losing a step. And I don't know if it's with all the injury and him trying to play with it through injury. Perhaps he and KarlAnthony Towns are not the best fit. I don't believe in the Knicks making it out of this first round. They have not, in my opinion, had a good season. They could not beat any good teams. So I don't even want to waste my time watching them in the second round, quite frankly. Of course, Stephen A. Smith had some choice words for the Knicks, so we will go ahead and listen to it, and then we'll react.
Gates is doubling down on his controversy.
Oh, that's not it.
James Harden, when asked if Kawhi gets the...
Nope, that's not it. Sorry, guys.
Well, Tibbs, talk to me.
Here we go.
You know, obviously, huge discrepancy in free throws. Huge. So I got to take a look at that, right? So, you know, I don't understand, you know, how on one side, that, you know, you talk about the direct line drives, the guys getting fouled and it's not being called, right? So, and look, I really don't give a crap how they call the game as long as it's consistent on both sides. So if Cunningham's driving and there's marginal contact and he's getting to the line, then Jalen deserves to be getting to the line. It's really that simple.
All right, Tibbs looking for consistency. Meanwhile, KarlAnthony Towns finished with 10 points, 6 rebounds in game 2. He scored a dunk with 6:37 left in the second quarter. Didn't score again the rest of the game. It marks the first time in his playoff career that he went scoreless in an entire half. Stephen A., here's what I want to know. Was game 2 more about Cat or Cade?
Well, to me, it was about Cat. I mean, Cade is special. There's no question about that. Give him credit where credit is due. This brother is a burgeoning star in this league. He is special. No doubt about that. Not taking anything away from him. But you look at the Knicks offense, it was relatively anemic. They missed their last 4 shots in the last 46 seconds of the game. They scored less than 20 points in 2 of the 4 quarters. In the first and the third quarter, they would score 18. All right. And then on top of it all, you got KarlAnthony Towns. This is an all-star. This is a dude that was averaging 24 and 12 this season. One of the things we raved about it, even as we lamented the fact that the New York Knicks aren't as rough and tumble as they were last year. We knew that they had more talent and they had more offense because KarlAnthony Towns has been playing like an all-star. Now the playoffs come against the Detroit Pistons, who ain't the Cleveland Cavaliers, who ain't the Boston Celtics, the 2 prohibitive favorites in the Eastern Conference, and you go scoreless in the second half. You only attempt 3 shots. What the hell was going on? So I get where Tom Thibodeau was coming from in terms of free throws or whatever. That's coaching. That's him complaining about it, working the refs, talking about he doesn't care as long as it's consistent. That's not true. Tom Thibodeau is always looking for something to complain about. You see his expression in his face on the sideline, and I'm not throwing any shade on him. I'm not acting like that's a bad thing. I get the fact that that's just the way you do it, especially when you're an effective coach. But in the end, the biggest story is that KarlAnthony Towns was absolutely impotent offensively. He just didn't. He was a no-show, had no presence whatsoever, and I certainly did not expect that, guys.
I thought it was, Stephen A., I disagree with you. I think it was more about Cade Cunningham because I believe they'd won game 1 had Cade Cunningham played like this. Because you think about it, they got 19 points in the first quarter in the first game from Tim Hardaway Jr. He got cardio in last night. He gave them nothing. So you talk about what Cat didn't do. What about what Tim Hardaway didn't do? And so Cade was sensational down the stretch. Every big play that they needed to make, every big pass they needed to make, he made that, yes. But Stephen A., we know there are times that in the postseason that Cat will drift. He'll fall in love with the 3-point shot. He doesn't go. He has a decided advantage, especially when Duran goes out of the ball game. He has Tobias Harris guarding him. He should be down, spend more time on the block as opposed around the perimeter. But I thought Cade Cunningham last night was the difference maker. He played great. He was efficient. Look, They made him a scorer. He says, okay, y'all want to make me a scorer? I'll oblige you, and I'll go get my points, be it through shoot the three, I'll get mid-range, I'll drive the ball, you foul me, I'll go to the free throw line and make my shot. But I thought this game last night was more about Cade Cunningham than Cat, although Cat didn't give you anything in the second half. Tim Hardaway didn't give you anything the entire game.
Well, Tibbs.
I don't need to hear anymore. Honestly, I agree with Stephen A. As a Knicks fan, this is more about KarlAnthony Towns. Nobody should be expecting the Pistons to beat the Knicks. The Pistons have less experience. They're a younger team. The Knicks should be asserting their will and their experience and their veteran status in the league over the Pistons. KarlAnthony Towns should be asserting his will over the Pistons. They should be dominating them. And in the first game, it looked like they would be doing that for this series. But I knew that Jalen Brunson is just not right. So his lack of explosiveness, I think it's not going to allow him to score the buckets when the team needs it. So, I think that the player that the Knicks need to rely on oftentimes is just somebody that's not reliable, and that's KarlAnthony Towns. We don't know when he's going to look pedestrian, when he's going to play soft, or when he's going to play aggressive. He's just not consistent. And that's just really the truth. So, World Breaker is so funny. JJ hasn't proven anything to me. The only thing that he needs to prove is that he can make it to the finals this year with Luka Doncic. So the bar has raised from Western Conference Finals to Finals. Darvin Ham did not have Luka Doncic on the team, a 25-year-old guy who, is dragging teams to the finals. He didn't have that last season. He had LeBron James, an aging player who wants to take over games, even though he had Anthony Davis, a top 10 player in the league. LeBron is still the flop king. I believe you, Ace of Rage, and I'm with you on that. So we heard from Shannon Sharp as well. I think Cade Cunningham is fantastic. I think that he is going to be a special player in the NBA. I don't think that he's getting the recognition that he deserves now, because we have these old head players in the league stealing the shine, and everything is about LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, and these guys that are just aging, that are not actually going to be the future of this league anymore. So I don't think it's about Cade Cunningham. I still think it's about KarlAnthony Towns, that loss, and the Knicks. They're going to need a miracle to get out of this series. I don't think that they're headed to the second round. Not at all. Sorry. But the playoffs, right? We're talking about the playoffs. We're in the playoffs. This is the most exciting time for the NBA, for NBA fans, right? And the Warriors, I would be remiss if I could not speak about the Warriors real quick and just what they've been able to do with the Rockets. They've been exposing the Rockets. And I love what Ime Udoka has been able to do. Just the Rockets making it to the playoffs is a huge accomplishment. They're kind of like the Knicks. They've been unwatchable. They've been not in playoff contention for several seasons, and look at them now in the playoffs as a result of Ime Udoka's retooling of the team. Amazing coaching. He's got young athletic players that are they're playing to win. They're hungry. They're hustling on the court. They're making all of these hustle plays. They're physical, and they're really taking to the leadership of Ime Udoka. So I look forward to what they're going to do next season and the season after that. I'm curious to see if they're going to get Kevin Durant, but I mean, Houston Rockets, they have no chance of making it to the second round because of this guy right here, Jimmy Butler. This shot is him pointing to Reggie Miller, saying, "Hey, I'm playing like you tonight. I'm channeling you." So I love that moment for him. He hit shots everywhere on the floor. He was extremely impactful. And, Steph Curry, it's funny because they ran him off the perimeter quite frequently. They were just running Steph Curry off the perimeter, and he was still able to score the ball. Steph Curry was getting to the rim. He was finishing beautifully at the rim. He's one of the few players, especially at his age, that I see making layups at a high clip. When he attacks the rim, he's still got a very nice soft touch, and he has a beautiful finish at the rim, whereas other players, they're just missing layups left and right. And I remember having to sit on the bench if I missed the layup. So salute to Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and the Warriors. They're showing what their experience in being a veteran in this league and how it can help in the playoffs. They are the example of this, and really super duper proud of the way that they've been able to transform their team with the addition of Jimmy Butler. They went from looking like a G League team to being a contender. So it is very, very, very just satisfying that we're seeing the Warriors back in the playoffs contending. We're seeing Jimmy Butler ascending with that team and really making a difference, whereas people said that he wouldn't move the needle, and he absolutely has. So salute to Jimmy Butler, Himmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, whatever we want to call him. And, you know, that's my recap for the games that I felt were most interesting. I will get to Giannis and Doc Rivers another time. I really want to see their next game and see, you know, if Doc can make any adjustments or, you know, kind of coach them out of this hole that they're in, because it doesn't look good for the Bucks. It looks like they're headed towards an elimination. So with that being said, the playoffs are here. We are, as NBA fans, you know, excited to watch this competitive play and to see teams actually truly compete. And, you know, I have to talk about the Mind the Game podcast. I have to talk about LeBron James' comments about the playoffs with Steve Nash and discuss, you know, just the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard, which is that, you know, LeBron is basically saying that his role players can win games for you and they can lose games for you, essentially. And he's more focused on the losing of those games for some reason. And it's really interesting. He's basically blaming role players for his losses, and he's not giving them enough credit for the wins. I've never, ever heard LeBron James give a role player credit for the wins. I hear him say, I won in 2016. I hear him say, my championship teams, my titles. I don't hear him talk about his team and the help that he had. In fact, I've heard him trashing these teams, saying he didn't have good enough role players. And so, you know, I want you guys to hear this sound from LeBron and Steve Nash, and we'll react.
You know, I think it's interesting because numerically the playoffs don't look that much different than the regular season,
right?
But they're so different, right? Like I got some numbers here. You know, when you talk about like points per possession, you know, they go down 1.5, right? Now you could say that's nothing. Still, margins, right? You know, it's an average. Effective field goal percentage, you know, goes down 1.5. You know, something. You know, they all add up, right? But where it does actually show is pace. You know, goes from 98.5 to 92.6 in 2023-24. You know, true shooting percentage goes from 580 to 566. The other one that's kind of a larger margin is assists. Assists go down. Assists go down. I mean, we could talk a little bit about that, but it's essentially what happens is these are intense scouts. You are taking people out of what they want to do.
There you go. You said it right there. Assists go down because ultimately a role player can win or lose you a game.
100%.
And when it comes to coaching and you get from one round to the first round, second round, conference finals, there's certain guys that can win you a game. And when it comes to coaching, they're going to say, Steve is going to do what Steve does. Luka's going to do what Luka does. LeBron's going to do what LeBron does. Kevin Durant's going to do what Kevin Durant does. But it's that guy or that guy. In their wins, he averages this. In their losses, he averages this. That's the assist. Because myself, you, Luka, guys that we know we need our teammates. We know in order for us to really reach our pinnacle, we have to make sure that these guys are super engaged on the offensive end as well. Because they're going to defend the hell out of the ball. They're going to be scrappy. They're going to run through a wall for us. But we need them to make those timely shots. And that's where the chess game comes in. You know, and I think that's what you're saying. You know, the assists going down because now coaches are saying, okay, that guy in wins and that guy in losses. We got to be able to try to take him out.
That's right. You know, it's interesting. It's not just the intensity and focus of the scouts. It's also the intensity of the play. Now, there's no more back-to-backs. You know, especially the first round gets stretched out a bit.
So it's less travel.
You're staying in the city for 2 games. So all these things allow, and life or death, right? It's a basketball
player. It's first 16 wins. It's not 82.
Fighting for your life. So you throw all the fatigue away, you know, and that's not to, you know, diminish what we do in the regular season, but like it's a lot of games.
I mean, you go from, it would be the same if a runner, you know, hey, for 6 months, you know, you run a marathon. 6-8 months, you're training for the marathon.
Trying to get through it.
Just trying to get through it. You run the marathon for 8 months. On the back end for those last 2 months, now you're running a sprint. You are running a 100-meter yard dash. That's what it comes to. That's what it comes to. And we know we're all gearing up. We're all gearing up. And it's no knock on the regular season, but you're gearing that up. You're gearing everything up to get to that point where now, you know, it's a 100-meter yard dash, 200-meter. Like, it's like, we get into it right now. There's no tomorrow.
Your comment about, like, sometimes it might take you a few games to get into a series. Well, part of that is because the physical intensity of the defense. You've seen them in the regular season, but if they're going to blitz you in the playoffs, that is a different blitz. That is a different blitz. That is physical. That is hands. That is body, feet, everything, taking away space. So like that sometimes is an adjustment.
And the referees allow it a little bit more too.
Physical.
You know, and I've always equated like the regular season to the playoffs is like playing in the NBA to now playing in the Olympics. It takes a couple games playing in the Olympics for you to get to the point where it's like, oh,
they're allowing us to play a little bit more physical.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually like this, but I need a game or two to actually get to it.
Right.
You know, and that's how the regular season to the playoffs is. The refs allow it, and I love it. And I love when you can be more handsy, you can be more physical, and you know, and it's not, the whistle is not blown as frequently.
Right.
You know, so like you said, it takes a couple games, because if you've been training your body and been playing a certain way for 8 months, and then all of a sudden within 1 week, you have to now go into the postseason where everything is more physical, everything is faster, everything is more intensified. It may take a game. It may take, hopefully it doesn't take 2 games, because then you could lose a damn series that way. But it may take a game. It may take 2 quarters. It may take 3 quarters for you to get into it. But you're hoping that you're the team that it takes less amount of time to get to that than the other team your opponent you're playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's the physical intensity, obviously, with the scheduling, being in the city longer, all that stuff. There's the focus scouts. You know, we all take time to understand what's the style of play in this team. What are the actions they run? What do they do side out of bounds, end out of bounds, end of game, get in plays? You know, what's their philosophy on fouling? You know, all sorts of things go into it. What are our schemes? What suits our style of play against them? You know, what are their schemes? How do we attack them? So there's a lot of studying that goes on. Tendencies, taking tendencies away. So there's the physical intensity, there's the mental intensity, right? Like that, those 2 things combined make it complete. And by the way, it's the most fun you'll ever have in life,
for sure.
right? It's the most fun. Mistakes on the line. Refs aren't calling as much. You're fighting, and then there's the component of you're going to see the same guys 4 to 7 times. So it gets a little bit personal.
Yeah, it does.
It gets a little bit personal. We're all proud. We're going out there. You know, there's another part of this that's really important. It's the human side. I mean, we've talked about before, but that emotional roller coaster of, you know, you go and play a team and you beat them handily, you feel like you're never going to lose again. You know, a team beats you and you got no answers, you feel like you're never going to win again. That's never really the truth.
Never.
Very rarely the truth. Can you talk a little bit about your approach with your teams, you know, in that roller coaster of the playoffs and trying to keep your team even keel? How do you lead? How do you manage them?
No, you just said it. You said it perfectly, man. Just like, it's always like, until you get 4 wins, it's never over.
Right.
It's never over. And I know we've never in NBA history had a team come back from 3-0, but it's always a chance. You know, I've seen it in other sports. I've seen it in baseball happen before. You know, I've watched baseball series, guys come back down 3-0. It's going to happen. So until you win 4 games in a postseason, it's not over. So it doesn't matter if you go on the road, you start on the road, and you beat the team by 25 game 1. Game 2 is going to be the hardest game that you have to play. Right. They're mad. They're sitting at home. They're pissed about the game that they lost, what they didn't do well, how they didn't play well. The coaches is on their asses. They're embarrassed. That next game is going to be the hardest game, and you have to stay even keel. You have to get your friends and family out of your ear. You have to get off of social media, because everybody's going to praise the shit out of you like you just won the greatest thing of all time, and you have to be able to just get away from it all.
Are you intentional with that with your teammates?
Yeah,
you like,
absolutely.
guys,
Absolutely.
cut out the noise, cut out
Absolutely.
distractions.
Super intentional.
Next game's going to be the hardest game.
Super
I think it's important because, you know, as you know, on a team, you got guys all different ages, all different experiences, mindsets, emotional toll. So you might have a young guy that doesn't know any better. You might have an old guy that maybe hasn't played as much and now you need him. You got all these different factors trying to balance. I think it's so important to talk through sometimes, like, because it's human nature. We feel good. We feel overconfident. They feel like their back's against the wall. It happens so many times. Talk about no one's ever come back from 3-0. I almost got beat. We almost got beat. When I played for Dallas, we played Portland, we're up 3-0. We had to win game 7 at home. You know, luckily we were able to play at home with Dallas, but like it was this close from happening. So anything can happen in a series, which leads to a little bit about the preparation, the intensity, and then the adjustments. So you go into a series, you have a game plan, you have a way of.
It continues. I'll play some more for you guys.
And, you know, it's funny because, you know, we talk about the regular season, but the regular season is you building up the habits to get to the postseason. You're hoping that you've discussed and went over and have instilled enough habits to this is where we're going to lean on in the playoffs. And it's going to get a little bit more fine-tuned in. It's going to be a little bit more intricate in how we do things, but you're hoping that you build those habits. Now, who we are is who we are, agreed. But the best teams in the postseason is the ones that can make adjustments on the fly. If things are not going great, an IQ team. Now, we're not saying to throw the whole damn thing out and throw it in the trash, but to be able to just to fine-tune this or maybe to switch this up and be able to make adjustments on the fly.
Give them a different look.
Give them a different look. I always say it's so much easier to be a Monday morning quarterback. You know, we lose the game on Sunday, and everyone and their mama and daddies can go break down the film and say, well, this is what we should have did. This is what we should have did. Okay, all right, everybody, calm down. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But to be completely honest, how can we do it on the fly as well? And I think the greatest teams that we've seen, no matter if they've won it or not, because there's a lot of things that go into winning and losing, but the greatest teams, I believe, has been the ones that be able to make adjustments on the fly from one game to the next game, and also still having that core that's built over the last 8 months.
Right. You know, it's interesting you talk about teams, like there's that human element too, is, you know, I think great teams have, like teams that win championships, get to finals, they have similar characteristics. You know, you have a leader, you have a hierarchy, essentially means people understand their role, they try to start the role, they sacrifice for their role. You have IQ, you have resilience, toughness, and really toughness. Like it's going to be physical in the playoffs, but the toughness is really mental.
Yeah, for sure.
It's mental. You can't give an inch. You can't forget a play. You can't forget a rotation. You have to be sharp. You have to be early. You know, all those things that just make the little differences because the margins are so fine. You know, I think it's fascinating to see how often you get to the finals, 2 smart teams, 2 mentally strong teams, 2 teams that can make decisions on the fly. You've played on some of those teams. Like talk about maybe some of your Miami teams, the way you're able, or the Lakers team, the one in the bubble, like how you guys were able to make quick adjustments, read off each other, and use your IQ to solve problems.
No, like you said, I mean, you know, once you get to the finals, it's like you said, 2 high IQ teams, the best players are on the floor. Everyone knows what that team's going to do. I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do. And the margin is obviously how can we get into a game and execute with them knowing what we're doing, but also how can we make adjustments that they may not know we're making. That
it takes
mental.
a while to recognize how they changed something.
Yeah, that you've changed something. They say, oh, and you hope that it takes a game, if not a game, maybe a full quarter, maybe even 2 possessions.
Steal 2.
Yeah, if you can steal 2 possessions in the postseason, game, especially in the finals, that can win you that trophy. Because it's you see it all the time, how the game comes down to 1 or 2 possessions.
Right.
You know, and it's not because, you know, okay, both teams are that equal. Of course, you know, you have the one Eastern Conference team got there, the one Western Conference team that's there. But it can literally come down to like one adjustment here that they didn't see or we didn't see.
Right.
You know, and I've been able to be a part of, you know, 4 championship teams where there were times we made small adjustments, you know, and we made plays late game, you know, or late in the third quarter, you know, that end of that third quarter that you could ride that momentum going into the fourth.
Right.
You know,
just shifts,
small shifts, you know, and like you said, the biggest thing that I know for sure that I've had in my 4 championship teams, we had guys that knew their role to a T, and we were very smart, very smart, high IQ guys, and we could really, really just make adjustments on the fly.
Yep.
You know, my Miami teams can make adjustments on the fly. We could play 2 bigs at times. We could play 1 big at a time. We could blitz pick and rolls. We could switch pick and rolls. You know, we could show and peel. You know, we could blitz, and the guy that's coming out of the blitz don't even run back to the hole. He could just peel to the top of the key. We read each other's communication. My team in Cleveland, we could do the same thing. We could play Tristan and Kevin Love together at times. If we didn't, we could play Channing and RJ at the 4 and 5. We spread everybody out. Now we can switch a lot of, you know, things. You know, and obviously my team in 2020 with the Lakers, we could play 2 bigs with Dwight and JaVale, or we could play 80 at the 5. You know, we had so many savant guys, myself and Rondo could be on the court at the same time with Alex Caruso. You know, now we got these, we not only thinking the game, we're also mastering the game while we're out on the floor. So it takes a lot, you know, to win a championship. And it's not easy, but damn, it makes it a lot smoother when you know you have guys out there that's on the same wavelength or even close to the same wavelength. If I could look at you and be like, you know, you know, there's no need to be said.
Right. And some of that comes from experience. Like that's why I think it's hard. Collective experience. That's why, like, for example, your first year in Miami, you guys are in the finals.
Yeah.
A big part of that for me is collective experience, is being there before together, having those collective scars where you see in someone's eyes, we're going to be fine. You're down in game 3, 13 points in the third quarter, and you say, we're going to be fine. Whereas if you haven't had that collective experience, those can be trying moments.
Yeah, for sure. You start to question everything.
Right.
You start questioning yourself. You start questioning the guy that you haven't been in the foxhole with enough.
Right.
You know, it's just human nature. You know, if you haven't been in those experiences enough, you don't know what to fall back on. And, you know, my experience, my second year in Miami, you know, losing that year before gave me enough experience to know how to handle adversity even more. Right. You know, have to go into Boston for a game 6 down 3-2, and everybody is saying that this is over. Yeah. You know, how to come back in 2016 after losing in 2015, you know, and how to handle adversity being down 3-1. Right. Because of the things I've learned over the course of the past, you know, and having those moments with my teammates to be able to be like, we're fine. And they believe that no matter how large the obstacle is for us to overcome. Yeah. They believe it.
LeBron is a complete disaster. Calling, you know, the Boston Celtics a big 4 because they had Rondo, who was just not a scorer. When we talk about big 3s, when we talk about big 4s, when we talk about super teams, the 1, 2, and 3 option, they are scorers. They're scoring options. So Rondo was a highly skilled point guard, and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, they were at the end of their prime. So I just can't quite understand how they were more of a super team than Miami. That is just completely ridiculous. And LeBron James trying to push these narratives, he's trying to push like 2, 3, 4 different narratives in every episode. The narrative that role players are the reason why he lost series, that, you know, it doesn't matter what he was able to do, that superstars actually have no accountability because it's the role players that will make you lose a game or make you lose a series or make you lose a title. Because the superstars, they do what they're supposed to do, and not just the superstars, LeBron specifically, because if we were trashing Steph Curry, there's no problem with that, as long as we're not trashing LeBron. So the credit for winning goes to LeBron, and the credit for losing goes to his role players. He glossed over the fact that he said that role players can win you a game. He doesn't talk about that. He doesn't give any examples about that, which is really interesting to me. They talked about the mindset. They talked about Boston being, you know, this super team. They talked about, you know, stats going down because of the role players in postseason. What else did they talk about? I mean, the idea that just that LeBron is not accountable for anything, it's just laughable. And I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments. I really am. I just think that he's delusional. And I think that LeBron James can't handle the playoff pressure, so he has to deflect to these other players on his team. He's all about the process. It takes so much to win a championship. Yeah, it takes a lot for you to manufacture them. It takes a lot for you to orchestrate, do midseason trades, and try to get everybody up and running. It takes a lot to get the NBA, the referees, and officials on board with making sure that you can win the title. I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it. So he's right about that. And he's wrong about the role players on his team. If they can help you lose, then they can help you win. And he said that, but we all have never heard him give any credit to those role players that have hit big shots. You know, it's so funny because he doesn't admit the fact that the Miami Heat were a super team. So they were a super team because they had Ray Allen in Boston, but they weren't a super team when they had Ray Allen on the Miami Heat. Instantly, he's just old and decrepit. What? Like, I'm confused. Make it make sense to me. Ray Allen going to the Heat, if the logic that LeBron James is using, that when Ray Allen played with the Celtics, that they were in fact a super team because he was there, then it has to still track that, in fact, Miami Heat then was a big four because you had Ray Allen, a prolific scorer on that team that can hit clutch shots and did actually win the title for them in 2012. So, with that said, you know, LeBron James keeps making a fool of himself. We see it every day. He can't stop. And it does bring me to my next topic. I didn't even want to talk about this, but I do have to talk about it. I think that it's important just given the basketball landscape that it involves. So Kevin Gates came out and made some really just disgusting, ignorant comments about LeBron James and his marriage to Savannah. I do not agree with them. I do not support his comments at all. I just don't even think, and I question why a man would have so much commentary on another man's relationship and what another man is doing and how another woman, any woman, is looking at him. Why are you paying attention to that, Kevin Gates? Is there something seriously wrong with you? I don't come in here and defend LeBron James often at all. And I do have some criticism for him here in this moment, in this situation, but it's primarily because LeBron doesn't keep the same energy. You're the king that has to protect your castle, right? You're going to protect your prince, Bronny, at every turn. Nobody's allowed to say anything or have any criticism about Bronny. Everything that people have said has just been that he's a bum on the court. And I mean, he has been. He's done nothing for the Lakers, has not made an impact on that team, and they're wasting a roster spot. These things are true, right? So Stephen A. Smith comes out and says something against him, and here comes LeBron with the fake thug nonsense. It's just ridiculous. You know, he's approaching Stephen A. Smith all for saying that Bronny shot 0% from three. He's in his face, looking like he's going to do something, then looking up at the camera to make sure that it's on film. So that's why he's always going to be fake to me, bozo to me. He's a fake thug. And the reason why he's a fake thug is because he just can't, he just can't keep the same energy. That's the bottom line. LeBron can't keep the same energy to save his life. And that's why we're here. Fake thug. But Kevin Gates, decided that he was going to pack him up with this commentary. It was embarrassing for sure. But if I were LeBron James, I wouldn't even have responded to this. But the problem is you have to respond when you're allowing for yourself to press and pull up on Stephen A. Smith courtside during a timeout at a game. Mind you, Kevin Gates made these comments. He said this about LeBron James and then showed up to the game. So let's see what Kevin Gates had to say. He even replied. LeBron he tweeted out saying, the following. So basically Kevin Gates was saying that he doesn't like how LeBron's wife looks at him. Okay. And LeBron responded and he said, "Kings don't concern themselves with the opinions of peasants. Where to next, queen? Let's get it." And look, they shouldn't be worried about this. And I hope that Savannah said, "Hey, don't even reply to this. This is silly." But again, you have to keep the same energy. If you're LeBron James, if you're the king, you have to protect your castle. You have to protect your queen. And so he is all about protecting his prince, but not his queen. And that is something that I can't personally get jiggy with. I don't understand why, he can't keep the same energy for the queen of the castle. Why? Why not? But this is what Kevin Gates had to say in response to LeBron and his tweets. E! News reported it, so I'm going to give them credit for that. But let's hear it.
Gates is doubling down on his controversial comments. Speaking on LeBron James's marriage to Savannah James, Kevin Gates says in an April 19th Instagram video,
I don't like the way Savannah look at LeBron. I like the way them white women look at LeBron. Like when soon as he walk out there, they just be like, oh.
The right where I'm supposed to be rapper even went on to describe Savannah as the warden of the jail, while he described LeBron's spirit as so loving and giving. And the basketball legend appears to respond to Kevin's comments in an April 22nd Instagram post that reads, "Kings don't concern themselves with the opinions of peasants. Where to next, queen? Let's get it." LeBron adds a black queen emoji at the end, along with a heart and an infinity symbol. And now Kevin is responding with another video round, saying,
The truth hurts, but it heals. And Bron, I love you. As long as you being celebrated, I don't care who don't like me. As long as you being celebrated, that's all I care about. Because you might, and I love you. So I don't care if I got to fall out with somebody I love to get the results. We're going to get the results. But if anybody needs, I'm a life coach and a guru. Y'all 24 hours.
I mean, the truth hurts, but it heals. Apparently, that's what Kevin Gates is saying. I don't think this is any of his business. I think that this is god awful of him. But he wanted to prove that LeBron James, that he could say whatever he wants to say about LeBron, his family. And so what? He was going to come pull up. He was literally at the Laker game last night. LeBron didn't do anything. The guy sitting there with Brittany Renner, PJ Washington's son's mom, I believe. And, just chilling. He's courtside. So how come LeBron didn't pull up on him for the timeout? I mean, I get it. He should be focused for the playoffs, but I mean, was that not a critical game that he pulled up on Stephen A at? I think it was critical. I don't think that they, should have been trying to lose that game either. But the fact is he rolled up on Stephen A. Smith saying, "Stop effing with my son. It's about my son." He went to Pat McAfee to defend that. Hey, we're talking about things that are not basketball. They're not keeping it basketball. I don't know what Kevin Gates is. I don't know what kind of basketball take that is about Savannah James, but I think it's absolutely disgusting. Savannah James should not be in his mouth, and LeBron James should have absolutely pulled up on him. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. But of course, he wasn't going to keep the same energy, and that's what we deal with, a fake thug. Fake thug. So, it's just really interesting to me that LeBron can't keep the same energy, and I'm just wondering why. Why didn't LeBron James press Kevin Gates like he did Stephen A. Smith? Why? Why? All we see is LeBron pulling up on Stephen A. looking crazy as hell. I don't see how you do something like that. I really don't. They have, back and forth exchange of words, and LeBron James can't pull up on Kevin Gates, but he can pull up on a 60-year-old Stephen A. Smith. Stephen S. Smith. Let me correct myself. But I do want to know what you guys think. LeGoat of excuses. Honestly, guys, that's the comment of the night, and we're going to end the stream on this note. I want to thank you all for joining. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Share the video. Share the video on your social media networks, and help me to grow the community. Help me grow the sports tea community. We need more people. We need more subscribers. We need more people in the chat room with us, just having a lot of fun and a good time. How many people did like the show already? So we have 67 likes. That's not bad. Thank you guys. You did a really good job. Let's try to get up to 80. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to break down some more Houston Rockets and Warriors, whatever games are playing tonight. I'm going to go ahead and watch them, and I'll be back in the morning to dissect. And I still have this LeBron James episode that I need to stream for you guys. I mean, I am exposing all different kinds of things and debunking some narratives there, and I just haven't gotten around to it because the playoffs are in full swing. So I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys current content as fast as I can. So thank you for being here. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of the games that are playing, and like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Till next time.